Welcome back to a new post today. And today is about sustainable cities. So we all know that we have the sustainable development goals that we have to achieve by 2030, and we are just 6 years away from it. But the big question mark today is the manner in which development is taking place in the cities in India. Is it really sustainable? And this is in context with the reigning woes, or I would say the reigning crisis on Bengaluru, which is actually not facing a crisis because of excess rains, but because of less rains and the dwindling groundwater position and the less water flow in Kaveri river on which it is dependent. So the water woes of Bengaluru don't take a name to reduce. They are increasing, and now they have burgeoned in such a manner that schools are being shut down and people are being asked to work from home. Such is the crisis situation of Bengaluru. And we all take this pride in saying that we are a urbanized country, we are becoming more urbanized. But is this urbanization really sustainable? Will it sustain the future generations of India? Will it sustain the growth and development? These are the growth poles of the economy, from where we garner a lot of taxes and all the income which the government gets. They also offer employment opportunities to a wide range of sectors and people as well. So the big question mark is, when water is becoming the major crisis, will these cities really be able to sustain their growth and development? So I'm not going to delve into this question, but this will help you to ponder on the manner in which we are developing our cities, or in which urbanization is actually being carried down, is actually increasing in India. It is definitely unplanned and not planned urbanization, and this is what we should remember. So let's have a quick insight about Bengaluru. What is the crisis, and what are few of the recommendations that are being coming up, keeping in mind that India is also a participant and also has the commitment to fulfill the sustainable development goals by 2030, and we are just 6 years away from this. So sustainable cities will not only make development sustainable, growth sustainable, but it will also provide an avenue for our future generations where they all have to live in. So Bengaluru, from where do these woes of water woes from Bengaluru actually start? We know it's a software capital of India, it's a Silicon Valley of India, and houses some of the biggest IT companies, and has become a startup destination as well. So Bengaluru roughly consumes almost 1400 million liters of water per day, both from the Kaveri river and the groundwater resources. Now the groundwater recharge compared to the demand is very much slower than what the demand for water is, and the Kaveri river has been affected because of bad monsoons, and that's because of the El Nino year. So officials have reported that there is a 250 million liters per day deficit that Bengaluru is actually facing, and I think it's much more than this, primarily attributed due to the insufficient rainfall, declining underground water levels, and over exploitation of groundwater. Because not all the areas get access to Kaveri river water, they have to depend upon the groundwater. That is, when they move away from the center of the city, most of their dependence is on groundwater. And let's look into the reasons also, that why exactly this water crisis is burgeoned to such an extent. Now with the dry spell cast over the city, the residents are spending most of the time in water tankers, and also businesses struggling to remain open. Karnataka, especially being Bengaluru's capital, is facing one of the worst water crises in the recent years. That's because of poor rainfall in 2022 and 23. The IMD has attributed this due to scanty rains because of something called as the El Nino effect, that is the warming of the Pacific Ocean that has its effect on the monsoons of India. Now according to an IMD scientist, A. Prasad, there was an El Nino effect last year which was moderate this year too, but is likely to decline. So the El Nino effect almost stays for at least minimum 3 to 4 years, and its effect was evident in the summer set in the 3rd and 4th week of February, which otherwise happens to have the effect in March in Bengaluru. Now the shortage of the water crisis in Bengaluru is a combined effect of the weak southwest monsoon because of the El Nino, failed rainfalls, a lack of replenishment of the depleted groundwater, and the Kaveri river basin's reservoirs have also seen dwindling levels. This has forced the residents to ration water use and also pay double the amount that they usually pay for the water tankers. Water tankers are frequently running on the water roads, and let me tell you that usually the water tankers supply the amount for 700 to 800 a tanker, but because of the excessive demand, it's gone up to 1800 a tanker in Bengaluru, and this was said by our Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka, D.K. Shivakumar. Bangaluru's water crisis is because of this as not only affected the people in the urban areas, but now is slowly affecting the garment factories, doubling the restaurant water bills, forcing managers at some global firms to ask their employees to work from home. And let me tell you that the city is home to 40 million people, 1,000 startups, international firms like Walmart to Alphabet's Google as well. And so what is the reason for this crisis? As I tell you, less rainfall because of the El Nino effect, plunging groundwater levels, with more than 3,000 borewells drying up and having caused the current water crisis. Apart from that, lakes which are being reclaimed to build infrastructure like flats, buildings, etc. Floodplains are being now they are being used for urbanization to build roads, other types of infrastructure, has led to worsening of the situation. More groundwater use than the recharge rate has led to increase in demand and lack of supply of water. These are some of the reasons for the water woes in Bengaluru. So what are the suggestions that are being made to actually tackle the situation? As we know, this is just not a situation only with Bengaluru, which is a million plus city in India, but definitely this can be a situation in many other urban areas in the times to come if they do not practice water harvesting or saving of water, and also optimum utilization of the available water resources. Apart from that, we have to be ethical while using the water resources and not use them, not waste the water resources, I would say. So what are the suggestions being made to tackle the water crisis? Now it includes a combination like recharging of your groundwater levels, having the lakes that were claimed, digging up more lakes, especially reclaiming the lakes that have been covered up with sand and gravel, etc. So let's look at some of the recommendations that have been given by a few experts and also the residents. Now the experts say that the city needs better planning and water management to ensure that it does not run into a crisis situation once again. Waking up to the crisis, the government has recently announced measures that it will take to supply treated water to various industries and not the drinking water as usual. Given Bengaluru's limited water resources, using treated water is crucial to ensure that the city does not run into a crisis again. Systematic use of treated water wherever possible for other purposes is crucial to bring down the demand for fresh water, and this is one of the important recommendations. Dual piping should be mandatory in all the new constructions and also existing, I would say, to ensure that the treated water is there for other tertiary and secondary purposes like gardening, cleaning, washing, etc. Savior of the city, which is the circuit of lakes now, which is now dwindling and covered with sand and gravel and being reclaimed for the other infrastructure. There is a need to now manage these lakes and reclaim these lakes, especially the stormwater drains that are left the city for squandering of water. Apart from that, Bengaluru, once called the city of 1,000 lakes, now the lakes are facing either pollution or they have been covered with sand and gravel to reclaim them for building purposes. The lakes have actually helped to manage the city's water needs to a very great extent, and these lakes need to be redeveloped to ensure water security. Many lakes are polluted and there is a need to stop the pollution of these lakes and small rivulets as well, I would say, and rejuvenate them. There is a need to ensure better groundwater recharge and management, especially planning of the footpaths that should not be covered with gravel or your road material or your tar, which will help the water to seep inside whenever it rains. Minor changes to building codes which will enable the open spaces to make it more permeable to water can help to promote groundwater recharge, like small plant covers with grass, soil covered with grass, open spaces with sand, etc. will help. Poor water harvesting in the city has actually added to the problem, and efficient rainwater harvesting mechanisms or systems will promote a groundwater recharge and also help to utilize the water when it is directed into a recharge pit. And there is a need for constant planning of the water needs to meet the increasing population needs of the city, because cities are growth centers and they they attract a lot of people from the surrounding areas, so population definitely will not decrease, but it will increase. Also, there has to be planned urbanization. We have to increase the extent of the city limits as and as the population increases, and not make them focused at the center of the city. Instead, the city should be growing in diameter, and also taking into need the civic needs. Apart from that, judicial use of the water from every individual is the most needed solution, especially to deal with water crisis, because everyone has to be responsible for their own water usage systems. We have to inculcate the habit of using the wastewater for plants, for washing, for cleaning, etc., and minimal use of fresh water. Apart from that, rainwater harvesting will definitely help, especially on the terraces, and having recharge pits in the building code will also help. So these are some of the recommendations, and these are the problems which have actually burgeoned into a situation where the whole city is facing a crisis like situation with regard to water. Everybody has left their works and now running behind water tankers. So worst is the situation. So these few recommendations definitely will help with other cities, because India is increasing in urbanization. Urban cities, urban areas are bound to increase, because the urban centers are growth poles and growth centers which support all the tertiary and the secondary activities, compared to the rural areas which support the primary activities. So these are a few insights that I wanted to share with you with regard to the Bengaluru, and especially the water crisis in urban areas, and how we can make our cities really sustainable. Water is one of the basic needs which we cannot overlook, and these recommendations will surely help, and also help us to achieve the sustainable development goals by 2030. Maybe not by 2030, but definitely 5 years after from that. So I think this post was really helpful to you all. If you did, please do like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to comment at the end of the video, and I shall see you in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.